Yes.
Staging an uprising.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing I loved most was being able to listen to music all day. Exactly. And I would go to the lending library and borrow records from all over the world. Plus there were some good things on the BBC programmes, and there was Black Londoners and Pied Piper and this sort of thing. And I started getting into this fiesta music and ceremonial music and, ritual music, sort of the music of another world, really. And everything was perfect, but my clothes even smelt of cedar of Lebanon, and from the work that I was doing with the wood. One thing was missing though, and that was that I felt sort of isolated because I wanted to be part of these things that I was listening to, and I wanted to go off and join in really, and have an adventure. So I decided, I thought about it, and I decided what I'm going to do. Buy a tape recorder and go off and just, see what happens and record what comes along, musicians or fiestas, or just see, and so I sold a harpsichord, and I went out and I bought one of these Ewers, which is a Uher, German, beautifully made tape recorders, reel to reel. And these things were used by the BBC a lot. And they were reputed to be very, very tough. You could drop them down the escalator of a London Underground. And when it got to the bottom, bumping all the way down, the damn thing would still work. So that was good. And another thing that was good was a little bit of experience. When I was much younger, my parents had a Philips cassette recorder.
Yeah.
And what I used to do was sort of wind up the adults, make them say stupid things, and record it secretly, and then I'd play it back and make fools out of them. So that was a good bit of experience to have under my belt. So with that, I went off, and I wasn't quite sure where I was going. So I ended up travelling all the way down Central America, Colombia, Ecuador, and finally got to Peru, and I went to Cusco, where I had somebody I knew I could stay with. And he became a great friend of mine, Manuel. He was from Cusco. And he sort of orientated me a little bit about fiestas that I could go to. And I went to these fiestas, and, well, they just completely knocked me for six. They were just so much going on, so much noise, and people would be sort of singing very loudly and shouting and laughing, and fireworks going off, and then there'd be a shower of flour in my face, because carnivals. And then the next thing would be water, and it'd be a sort of gooey mass all over my face, and all worried about the tape recorder. And I sort of got back, and I thought, to Manuel's house, it's no good. I'm not getting proper recordings here. There's too much noise, where can I get a decent recording? And so one day, Manuel said to me, look, go to San Jeronimo. It's a very religious town. I know a man who plays religious music there. So I packed up my things and microphones and everything, went to myself, knocked on the door, and the door opened. A very kind man, Raphael, and his surname was sort of unpronounceable, sort of Quechua name. So I knew I was onto something. And he took me in. He took me into the sitting room at the back of the house. And I looked around, and I thought, this is quiet. And I started to sort of feel the promise. I could feel, and it had a good acoustic. I thought, there's a chance I might get a perfect recording this time. And I said to him, as I was putting the equipment together, I said to him, go and speak to your wife, tell her not to come in while we're making the recording. He said, see. And then when things were ready, I looked at this, he's playing a pampa piano. I heard about the pampa piano. And this one is what we call them harmoniums. And you pump them with your feet. And I looked at this one, and the first thing that struck me, I thought, is it made in Kentish Town? I thought, I've come halfway around the world to record an instrument just made up the road from where my work was. So, well, these things were imported all over the world in Victorian times, particularly.
So I got a little bit of light on it.
Oh, right. Yes, it's getting dark.
Should we put that globe light on it there?
Yeah.
That light,
Yes, that's innovative.
yeah.
The globe.
The fiction now I'm doing. Go on.
Well, then I looked more closely at this pampa piano, and it was amazing because some of the white notes had been completely worn away. I mean, just the white layer had completely gone through to the wood beneath. It's almost as if they'd been played with kind of sandpaper on their fingertips.
Right.
But the next thing, there's some notes just hadn't been touched. They're just completely virgin white, and some of the black notes. And I thought, goodness, what kind of music is this man going to play for me? That only uses 5 notes in the scale, and so everything was connected up properly. He looked at me, I looked at him, and adjusted the recorded levels, and he started playing, and this marvellous music came out and filled the room, and this wonderful acoustic, and well, in the middle of it there was this the door handle, and door banged open and his wife came in with an armful of glasses and started arranging them on the opposite side of the room on these glass shelves. So and my first reaction was, messed it up, turn the tape recorder off. And then I thought, well, yeah, I have to start it up again, and how would I splice the two halves of the recording?
Yeah.
So while I was thinking all about this, suddenly there was this almighty crash, and the whole thing fell off the wall. Shards of glass went everywhere, and all the glasses seemed to be broken. So the needles went into the red, and they actually stayed there. It was just so loud. My recording levels, and I saw there were just 2 glasses that hadn't fallen on the ground. She was holding like this, sort of agonisingly. So I went over to rescue the poor woman, and so then you could hear on the crunch, 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 crunch all over the grass, and then I rescued it, put it on the table, and then she went off. She went out of the room, closed the door quietly, and como si nada, nothing had happened. And then I thought, what am I going to do now? And then I realised the man, he was still playing the music. And so I thought, well, just let it go on, let the recording continue. And when it finished, I said thank you very much, and I put the microphones back in their boxes and wound up the cables and rewound the spools on the reel-to-reel, thanked him and so on, and went back to the house, and came up the stairs and said to Manuel what had happened, and he said, oh yeah, muy profesional, a very professional musician, he wasn't put off by any noise, but he was probably deaf, and I thought, oh God, but he wanted to hear, so he said, play me, and so we played it right away from the beginning. And he thought it was marvellous. He just roared with laughter, and the whole thing turns out really loudly. And then his mother came up the stairs and said, "Caramba, que pasa? Who's broken all my glasses?" So Manuel had to tell her the whole story of what had happened. And she thought this was marvellous. She reclined on her chaise longue and he said, "Play it again." So he played it again, turned the volume up a bit louder, and then members of the family and neighbours started coming up, wanted to know what happened. The tiny little speaker of the... and, well, that wasn't the end of it, but eventually it was time to go back to London and get on with making harpsichords and think about things. But I remember there was this programme on the BBC, and they would interview people that had travelled and perhaps recorded or collected LPs and things in part of the world, and I made an appointment to go and see him in the BBC Broadcasting House. And I went in there. He was a rather sort of stiff fellow, and actually his name was Donald MacLeod. He's still there today. It's incredible. He's still there.
Still there.
Yeah.
He's immortal.
Anyway, so I went in there, and I saw his studio. You know, it had brilliant tannoy speakers and beautifully lined walls. And I started trying to be clever and sort of saying, you know, this is music. You know, this is Indian music played on Spanish instruments that have been acculturated over 500 years. Didn't quite connect with him, but then I thought, well, I could play you some religious music. He said, oh yes, put that on. Okay, so well, I forgot to tell him about the glasses. So when the thing fell off the cabinet, he jumped out of his skin, and I had to tell him the story. And so at the end of that, he agreed to make the programme. So I went back to my workshop, and after a few weeks, I was planing away, making harpsichord, and there was a knock on my door because it was a place with lots of other workshops. And a friend of mine sort of came in, and he said, "We've heard you on the radio." And I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "You were on Pick of the Week." And I said, "Oh, yeah. Was it a good recording or a bad recording? I wasn't quite sure, you know." And well, then later on that year, we had a big New Year's Eve party in the workshops, and everybody was there. And then my friend came along and he said, "We heard you on the radio. You were on Pick of the Year." Well,
wow.
then it was that I realised that it was just as well I didn't turn off the tape recorder.
Right. So
Wow.
is that because people are appreciating the rawness of just being in that space where this woman came in and made the clash and it's making all this language over the music? I don't know.
Do you have it?
And the whole-
Yeah,
I'd love to hear this piece.
And the whole clash
I'll have to
stayed
dig
on
it out.
the.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The whole clash stayed
So
on the.
that's the story of the perfect recording.
Wow.
Wow.
And do you still have it? Do you have the?
Yeah, I still got it.
Love to listen.
Somewhere in the archives.
You need to find it. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to find it.
Yeah.
And what made you be on harpsichords in the first place? How did you come to do that?
Oh, well, because I liked Bach very much, and
Right.
he was only played on the piano in the early days. And then when I went to university, I heard it played properly on a harpsichord. And that really turned me on. That was the most exciting sort of musical experience.
Wow.
Because you're a great lover of Bach too,
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
play it. And, well, how to connect up all these stories with the Latin American music story, which, of course, is ongoing, really. And we can talk and, well, I thought possibly we could end up with a clip of some Brazilian music, because for me Brazilian music is the most sort of varied and the most explosive and the most...
I'll get it, put it on. I'll get it ready.
Look, everything about Brazil is the biggest and the best and the
Yeah.
longest and, you know, and the most wonderful. Thank you, Rosa,
Oh.
for coming. There you are, Rosa. And it's really inspiring you coming around last night and talking about all the different dances, and from the elite dances in the 19th century that sort of people of Portuguese descent kind of would dance to in saloons and sort of, and to the ones which like the samba and so many other styles that emerged more after the liberation of slavery and it's sort of become the sort of new underclass in the cities, and the end of the story, of course, there's Brazilian rock, which for me is so exciting because it's Brazilian, but it hasn't got samba in it or anything. It's definitely rock. And this band was called Paralamas do Sucesso, and actually they started playing in the 80s, and it's really rebellious music. It's about anger and of course solidarity. Always. This, unfortunately, I think it only has Portuguese subtitles. I couldn't find one of the English subtitles.
Yeah.
But it's called Alagados, and doesn't Alagados is actually a favela, isn't it?
Alagados sempre são favelas da maré, esperança não tem erro, fim das antenas de TV, a festa.
And they're all names of different shanty towns and things. I think what was it? Trench Town, isn't that in Jamaica or something? Trench Town? And Favela da Maré is somewhere in Brazil.
Os nomes
Anyway.
das favelas em Brasil,
Ah,
todos esses nomes.
Ah, tem muitas, amor.
So this is a rebellion against, you know, he's angry.
Me?
Yeah.
Like it.
It's musical, it's not punk, you know, it's musical, it's got rhythm.
Tentei te entender, você não soube explicar. Eu fiz questão de ir lá ver, não consegui enxergar. Desempregado, despejado, sem ter onde cair, muito endividado, sem ter mais o que pagar. Nesse país que alguém te disse que era nosso. Mandaram avisar, agora tudo mudou. Eu quis acreditar, outra mudança chegou. Fim da censura do dinheiro, muda nome, carta zero, entra na fila de outra fila pra pagar. Quero entender tudo que eu posso e que eu não posso. Não penso mais no futuro, é tudo imprevisível. Posso morrer de vergonha, mas eu ainda estou vivo. Segunda-feira, terça-feira, quarta-feira, quinta-feira, sexta-feira, sábado, aleluia. Eu vou lutar, eu sou Maguila, não sou Tyson.
Right, now we're going to hear the one that I actually talked about,
That's
which is Alagado. This is one of the earliest tracks, actually.
Aye.
This was a big hit.
Todo dia, o sol da manhã vem desafiar. Traz o sonho pro mundo, deixa meu dia. Palavras pra bichos, fala os filhos da mesma agonia. E a cidade que tem braços abertos no cartão postal, com os punhos fechados da vida real. E nega oportunidades, mostra uma segura do mal.
Picture postcard in the front.
Alagados, cristão, favela da maré, a esperança não vem.
fantastic.
Yeah, that was such a funky rock.
It's the nicest people in the world. You know, at the end of payback.
Is it the nicest place in the world?
Yeah, well, 80s.
Oh, it's gone back to the beginning again. That bass and start. But yeah,
Yeah.
can I, in order to sort of,
Yeah.
I don't know, how can you say anything in conclusion?
Mm.
But just one thing that
Yeah.
comes to mind. You
Right.
know, why these militaries that they bombed the government palace
Mm.
with the Chilean Air Force. They bombed it because
Mm.
Salvador Allende was there.
Mm.
And you've seen the film, probably.
I haven't.
And they had tanks on the street and everything. What were they so terrified about? A few musicians with guitars and things, you know. And it's the heart, isn't it? They were just they feared this unity of people, you know. Didn't never mind what social class, race, and all that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Simple. And it terrified them.
Yeah, it did.
And people like Jimi Hendrix were trying to get that message out to the Americans at the time. If you listen to the national anthem that he did, it's like the bombs dropping.
Yeah.
He really, I don't know if you want to listen to it now, but
Let's
Yeah.
watch this, yes.
yeah, okay, we'll put it on. Yeah. Let's go for Jimi
What,
Hendrix.
Star Spangled Banner?
Yeah, I need to get the sound working.
It's quite anti-musical,
hear
but
what
it's pretty amazing.
Oh, sorry. It's right in Vietnam, isn't it? The horrors. Bombs.
Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. Is it still good?
It's a story. It's a story of Vietnam. And 1 year and 1 month after this came out, he was dead on the day.
Is that right?
Yeah, they killed him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just like taking the national anthem and combining it with the horror of Vietnam. And don't get words to describe it. You know, it's in the music.
It's an amazing sort of
It is a
amazing
master.
kind of
Definitely a master.
demonstration.
I put it on because you mentioned Jimi Hendrix in your.
Right, yeah. The ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of this evening's entertainment,
Yeah.
we've got every kind of sort of
Was that not it?
kind of stimulation,
Okay.
Yeah.
sedatives, and
Stimulation.
Still got
probably
lots of
finished the
hearts
cock
with
up.
the hemping if anybody wants one. They're in the fridge.
Oh, I forgot to bring the fly agaric.
Yeah.
well,
That's a bit too much
And-
for tonight.
and we've got an extension lead going off to the fire,
We have.
and it's not raining, so we won't get sort of electrocuted from the electricity.
That helps.
And there might be a chance. Do you feel like playing something?
Oh, yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Something
Yes.
Brazilian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So you need to just plug into an extension lead.
That's right. I've also got
It's
my
there,
accordion, sorry, don't even need any.
Yeah, accordion. Dean is like the accordion god.
Well, should we take 5 minutes and then
So-
we can
yeah,
in the garden?
yeah,
It
yeah.
seemed like a good idea to
Yeah,
go to the
yeah.
garden.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll light the fire.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the fire.
There were some chairs there. I don't know if it's enough for everybody.
Oh, we'll
The fire starter.
Yeah, I'm the
Ellis the
fire
fire
starter.
starter.
I will do the fire.
Yeah.
And what else? Yeah,